Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. How are you all doing? I need to have a thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's see how you guys are doing. Where are you on the scale? We are entering into this fabulous first stage of spring. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to repeat some things that are probably in the video, but I just want to underscore some really, really important things. One of the most important things that is misunderstood and not discussed effectively when it comes to the diet, health, and wellness space is the when to eat question. And what I mean by that is that most of the diet industry is focused on what not to eat, and then maybe to some degree what to eat. But very rarely is there any discussion about when to eat. With the exception of some, fad type ideas around intermittent fasting and that sort of thing. But there's a much larger conversation to be had about when to eat, and it has to do with metabolic health. Every animal, every animal has developed the sort of optimal energy procurement and energy use system for their body or their metabolism based on where they are, based on where they live and what they eat and how they live and so on. And so you can take an animal and you can give them their perfect food, but if you give it to them without an understanding of those metabolic functions, you could cause a problem. And maybe the best example of that is that we know that, in say Northern California, British Columbia, when the fall rolls around, the bears start eating lots and lots of berries and they start fattening up for the winter. And they're supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be eating those berries. They're supposed to do that. Mother Nature offered them. They're there for that season. And when that season changes, they'll go back to what they did last season, and it'll rotate. But if we trap those bears in that season, it would be reasonable to expect that they would develop insulin sensitivity problems. They probably would gain weight. They might even develop diabetes. Do you guys all follow this general logic? Are you guys with me on this? Right? And so a very key component of the way our programs have worked for years and years and years is not simply about helping people change their relationship with food, helping people eat more of the good stuff and having a more healthy relationship with the bad stuff so they can have a better constitution. But the next version of it is helping people understand their metabolic functions so that they can optimize it, so that they can live with the energy that they really want to live with. Now, most of you living in some form of the developed world have been trapped in some kind of version of autumn, or sometimes a junk food or fake food autumn. And so what this program has really been about is increasing your general understanding and experience of nutrition. But now we move into the stage of we are now in full prison break mode. We are now going to activate your metabolism to produce for you cleaner energy, much, much cleaner energy. So I am really, really excited that you're here. I want to remind you, you know this already, but I'm going to remind you that as we go into this season, which is called WildFit Spring, and I know many of you are doing different versions of the spring. I'll come to that in a minute. But as we go into this spring, I want to remind you that different people will have slightly different experiences on slightly different schedules. Now, some of you will almost immediately start feeling an increased sense of energy. Some of you won't, but then suddenly you'll have a surge of energy. And some of you will only ever have a tapering increase of energy over time. Some of you will find your sugar cravings completely go away. In fact, some of you have already begun to find that they're diminished a lot, and maybe even they've started to fade. And then equally, some of you might develop some side effects from making this metabolic switch, because if you haven't done it very often or you haven't done it recently, then you might end up with a little bit of a cold or a little bit of a flu or a little bit of a headache or some interesting bathroom experiences or even a skin rash. And all of those things are part of the journey. So if they happen, I know it sounds crazy, but you should celebrate them because it's your body indicating that you're on the right path and you're headed in the right direction. So I want to say welcome to spring. And I just want to do a quick straw poll out there. Actually, if you could just put in the chat, which version of spring have you decided upon? I want to know which version of spring that you've decided upon. I'm looking in the chat here. So hunter, traditional, hunter, hunters, gatherers, hunters, gatherers, hunters, gathering. Okay, so it looks like there's, yeah, wow, there's a variety. There's absolutely a variety. And I know that in the comments, I saw a lot of people going, wow, a lot of people are doing this one or that one, but not this one. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. It matters what you've chosen to do. And so today we're going to dive in, and I want to know what your experience has been like so far. I want to remind you culture-wise that We start with our victories, appreciations, gratitudes. We can then move to questions and challenges. But what we never do is fish for sympathy. We're not trying to do that at all. We're always looking for solutions. So with that in mind, I open the floor to you. Who am I connecting with first?
We will start with JP.
Hello, JP. Hi there.
Hello. How are you doing, Eric?
Fabulous. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a few days in the Hunter Spring already, and I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Good.
I have to tell one story from the earlier days when we started drinking Alka-Seltzer again, and I suddenly remembered I was doing it in the morning, and my kid, who is now 7 years old, he was asking that, "Hey, Daddy, what are you drinking?" And I was wondering, this might be a place where I could use the Eric tactic to manipulate a little bit, so she maybe starts to also drink this. And I was just saying to her that, yeah, this is an adult drink. This is an adult drink. And then I was wondering, she was just like, okay, and didn't say anything at all. And a few days later, I hear a ping from my phone, and I was looking at the phone that, oh, somebody sent me a message from the school. And they happened to have this, that they were going through some biological stuff and stuff like that in school. And they were talking about breakfast. And she was telling to the teacher and the whole class that, yeah, well, my daddy only drinks adult drink in the morning. So I get a message asking about this. So what kind of thing is this, and is there a problem? Should we be concerned? And I was explaining that no, it's just a green smoothie. And I was trying to get her interested in tasting this one, but yeah, she didn't get to that. But she told the adults that, yeah, my dad is only drinking adult things in the morning. Yeah,
And then they thought you have an alcohol problem.
yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, but otherwise, I'm actually just feeling good, and I've been noticing that my sugar levels have gone down a lot, and I'm actually have been now 2 weeks off the Ozempic, and they are still going down. So I think that we are on the right path right now.
Good job. Good
And
job.
yeah, I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to tell that story.
I appreciate all of that. Great story, and very, very good news. Keep up the good work. The real magic really begins this week. Any progress that you make, when people have released weight or improved blood sugar and that kind of stuff, up to this week, that's all bonus. This is the week where the real magic begins. I'm so happy for you. I'm excited you've got a good foundation, and I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's go to Andrina.
Hello, Andrina.
Hi, how are you, Eric?
Good. How are
Hi,
you?
how are you, Eric? So first off, I want to say that we took a trip for spring break to the Bahamas, and I got really mad because my options were not the best there. I thought that I would have, the Dominican Republic experience where the food is a little bit easier, to but no, I got a little mad in that sense because I did have to eat like hamburgers and stuff, and I wasn't really into it. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I decided to go to the Hunter Springs, so I decided to just go back into it right away. Not really craving sugars, not really craving anything else. So I feel confident that I can move forward into spring right away. My question is thyroid. So hypothyroidism, I do take, my medication every day that I have to, and my doctor is conscious that I want to get off it. So we are moving forward in the process of getting off it. So little by little, she's removing the dosage, and I moved from the synthetic, pill to like the natural, like desiccated, pig's thyroid. I have tried Deep Spring in the past, so this is not my first journey.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough. So I wanted to, pick your brain and kind of see what you recommend. My coach in the past has said, maybe not go so deep. Maybe, introduce some sweet potatoes or some you know, squashes and stuff like that, but I feel that I don't release that much weight when I don't go into a deep spring, but I don't feel 100%. So what do you recommend?
Actually, when you're dealing with autoimmune and autoimmune conditions and that sort of stuff, I would really go with Hunter Spring. That's where I would go. If somebody came along and said, "Hey, there's a thyroid support problem here," I would go to that. Remember that largely what's happening is that it's very important to remember that while plants can be good for us and they do serve a purpose, that they are also always defending themselves. And so, you've spent so many years on the planet so far not being aware of that, and and as a consequence, potentially putting yourself in a position where plants have done a little bit of damage. That doesn't mean never having them again or that kind of stuff, but I would be inclined to go into Hunter Spring. We'll see.
Okay, because I don't, it's just a slow thyroid. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like when our bodies are irritated, whatever autoimmune reaction we're having, an inflammation reaction, infection reaction, what have you, the body's irritated by something. And this is the way it is that what is irritating to us about foods is the way they defend themselves. And that's the big distinction here, is that meat defends itself primarily externally. And so once you're eating a piece of meat, it's no longer trying to defend itself. The defense was earlier. Whereas with the plant, it's defending itself from the beginning, sometimes with smell, sometimes with taste, sometimes with digestion, and of clearly absorption. So what I'm suggesting, in a sense, is a form of an elimination diet without actually having to starve, because meat's the one thing that won't irritate you as it's going through. And I would give that a go and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's why I think I kind of decided on the Hunter. So I just wanted to. So thanks. Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, let's go to Hani.
Hi, thank
Hey,
you
how are
so.
you?
I love this iteration of WILDERBODY. I love all the analogies and the escape. It's so good. I just love being on this program long term, and it just deepens every time. So it's kind of becoming more and more and more lifestyle. So that's what I love about this.
Identity shift.
Yeah, exactly. And also habits shift, and also learning, why I do what I do. So thank you for that. And my question is about my son, who I signed up as well. He is a young man of 18. He had a digestive issue like 2, 3 years ago. He lost a lot of weight and he wants to get his weight back. So he has a concern around Wild Fit, like this program being a fit for him. And I wonder what you think about people who want to get their weight back on, so to speak.
Okay. So the only weight that will accumulate without effort is fat. So, you can accumulate weight by way of fat without having to do any exercise at all. No problem. The only way you're going to regain functional structural weight, bone density, muscle mass, is by putting the right materials in and then stressing those things. So, your bones, they apply for additional calcium density. They apply for better bone density because you give them impact and torque. If you're pounding or torquing them by lifting things, then the bones make requests for additional strength and they get stronger, and equally your muscles. So this program initially will probably cause him to release some weight. And if he's wanting to gain weight, that's not going to be great, but that's because it's going to be shifting it's going to be shifting some fat away. That's just natural. But once he goes into spring, if he couples that with really solid workouts, he'll gain weight. If he eats
He does
like
work
good
out.
proteins, eats
Mhm.
salt, drinks water, and makes his muscles fail, he'll gain weight.
Mhm.
He'll gain it a lot slower than he can lose the fat. So that means initially it might look like it's going in the wrong direction, but in the long haul, it'll work.
So if he follows Wild Fit entirely, are there chances that his weight will go back? Because he's been doing, weight lifts, and he's really working hard to build his muscles, and he's already looking much better, but
Yeah, then he'll keep, we have to deal with genetic potential and what have you. But at the end of the day, if he's eating significant amounts, right? Like you have to some degree to add weight on, it's almost have to be overeating, right? So you got to eat significant amounts. You got to get your salt, you got to get your water, you got to get your sleep. And if you do all that and make your muscles fail, they will grow. He will put on the weight. It just isn't super fast, right? Like putting muscle on is much slower than putting fat on.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Eric.
Nice to see
There's
you.
just a
Yes.
question in the chat.
Yes.
It is, if Eric or the team could address this, on Hunter Spring, is eating enough or eating liver enough from the organ list, or do brain and lungs, are they really necessary?
Oh, listen, guys. Organs at this point are an optimization. I mean, I will often do Hunter Spring for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time and barely even eat organ meats. I don't like them, and I know I'm supposed to eat them, and I do occasionally. But if you manage to get some livers or hearts in, do it. I did it just now. I was in Estonia, and we were at this super cool Korean barbecue, and they said they had chicken hearts, and I was like, all right, I know I'm supposed to do this. I'm gonna squeeze those down and then eat the things that I really enjoy. So, but no, you don't have to go. You don't need this tremendous variety. I think at the end of the day, I mean, liver. And by the way, one way that you know that say a health influencer is giving you good advice is when they give you advice that they don't like. So, for example, when you see all these these carnivore guys are like, you should drink milk. I'm like, okay, dude, you're justifying your carnivore diet based on human evolution, and then you're telling them to eat milk, which is a violation. You know why you're doing that? Because you like it. Well, let me tell you something. When I tell you to eat liver, I hate it, but I know that we're supposed to eat it. I want you to know that the privilege of choosing your food based on enjoyable taste and texture, that's a brand new feature, just the last 3 generations. Before that, you ate because it was there and you were hungry. And so I say occasionally getting a little liver in is going to be helpful. But no, I don't think you need to stretch your, I'm not going to eat ox tongue. It's just not happening. I don't like liver, but I hate ox tongue. So that's my answer. Get some in when you can here and there.
Thank you. All
You're
right,
welcome.
let's go to Annie.
Hello, Annie.
Hi. I did WildFit in 2017.
Wow, cool.
And I've lived 95% WildFit since. And it's totally changed my life. We had a line, and below the line, besides sugar, I put all dairy products. I mean, I saw the Scandinavian video that it does, they have more osteoporosis than anyone. But this has been quite 8 years now since I've done WildFit, and I now was just diagnosed with osteoporosis. So I think I would like some reassurance that I did the right thing, getting rid of dairy, and also any ideas you have in terms of WildFit to increase my bone structure.
Okay. Yes, you did the right thing. Dairy products are not a viable source of calcium to support your bone density. They're counterproductive. So you're lucky that you did the right thing in that space. There are 2 other considerations that are important. One is, are you running through a reasonable level of seasonal fluctuation? Your body sometimes needs to lean a little bit more acidic and then a little bit more acidic, a little less acidic and so forth. And that happens as you change seasons. And that can be an important part of the flow of calcium in and out of your bones. But Annie, probably the biggest issue is this. In a given week, how often do you lift weight that is so heavy that you almost can't lift it?
No, I don't do that.
Yeah,
I lift weights, but I don't lift weights, and I try and do balance exercises and, leg strengthening, but I don't lift weights to that extent. No.
I'm with you. Now, here's the thing. Let's say I pick up this here weight, okay? And I have it in my arm and I'm lifting, okay?
Right.
Now, if it's a weight that I can lift easily, I'm just doing this, and I'm basically getting a cardio workout and maybe a little bit of muscle stimulation. In a sense, there's 3 messages that your muscle can get on any given day. One day, I don't care about you. A lot of people give their muscles that message every day. Sitting in front of Netflix, I don't care about you, right? The next message that you can give your muscles is, I care about you, minimally. And that's where you do the kind of exercise you're talking about. I'm just going to, I'll go through my reps. I can talk to my friend while I'm doing it. It's that, I care about you. And what that'll do is slow the atrophy, right? It'll slow sarcopenia. It'll slow it down. Now, the only thing that'll reverse it and the only thing that'll help is when I am lifting and I can't quite lift anymore and I've gone all the way and I fail. And then the muscle goes, oh shit, we failed. We need to improve. Now, it's not just the muscles that are doing that. It's the bone that's supporting the structure under the muscles. There are two things that really cause your bones to strengthen. The one is impact. When you're running and you get this impact through your skeletal system, the body's like, oh, we got to be strong. And the other one is torque. So when I'm lifting that weight and I'm straining all these, the bones that are in my arm here and the bones that are in my arm here are bending under the weight of the pressure. And that bending is what's making them get stronger. And so I think nutritionally, you've done exactly the right things. Now what you want to do is go to the gym and find somebody who's willing to kick your ass a little and say, not the pink and purple ones anymore. We want to go for the, or you can lift the pink and purple ones, but you got to lift them to failure but I'll say this. With muscles, you kind of have two choices, in my opinion, and I want to be clear. I'm no certified personal trainer. I have my opinions, and they're medium well-read, but I would just say this. There's two ways to get to failure. The one is like slowly, and that's where you pick up the pink and purple weights, and you just keep lifting until that muscle fails, right? That's great for the muscle, but I don't think it's as good for the bone. Okay. The other version is you pick up a weight that was heavy at the beginning and you might only get 2 reps in, but you lift that one and now the bone is getting exercised. And so I really believe that both of those things are necessary, but that the second one is better for your bones.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, I just turned 75 and I would not have done it well without WildFit. And I have no other health problems besides that. So thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Andy.
Hey, Andy. How you doing?
Great. I'm down 20 pounds from my high. I'm the lowest weight I've had in over a year.
Nice.
When I tried to do this on my own, I tried to go deep spring, let's go, and couldn't. So yeah, the foundation is needed and works. So thank you for all of that. I was away this weekend, and my loving wife went shopping and stocked up for all the Alka-Geyser needs I would ever have. So if I do traditional spring for like 3 to 4 days and then go hunter, is that an issue at all?
No, go for it. No problem. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it might not be the ideal way to do it because you want to run an experiment. And when you run an experiment, you don't want a lot of variables, right? So, you know, it might be ideal that you didn't do that. But look, it's bought and it's done. And I want to say it's not what I would normally say is this. You should pick a spring and stick with it within some rules. I think that from either gatherers or traditional spring, you can move to hunter spring anytime you want. Now, that might sound a little bit cheeky considering that somebody on gatherer spring might be a vegetarian or vegan, but many of the people in gatherer spring decide, you know what, I'd like to try some eggs. That's allowed in gatherer spring can include those things to the point that you end up in kind of a traditional spring. Totally okay. Equally, in your case, you're in traditional spring and then you slow move deeper into that spring and you're like, you know what, the plants are out of season now and I'm just hunting. Totally okay. The one thing we don't want people to do is move from hunter spring back to the plants. We don't want to do that. We want to have a proper elimination experience with that. So you can move in one direction, but you really shouldn't move in the other.
Super. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
All right, Nadie, let's go to you.
Hi, hello, Eric. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, but last week I was not actually good. Like I was getting a very big headache. I was thinking whether it's because of the coffee that I stopped or whether something else going on. I'm not sure what it is. Because I'm not sure, like it was like I was taking Panadol, everything, like I'm putting try to keep myself up. Because I was thinking whether it's the sugar problem or a coffee problem, you know what I mean? So I'm a bit curious about it, like because I cut the coffee for now 1 week, but I didn't touch it at all. Like I thought I'm not going to do it because I'm not getting a good sleep at the moment. Like I'm most of the time, even though I'm in the bed, sometimes I'm sleep only like I'm in the middle of the night, I'm getting up again, going like back and forth, back and forth. So it's now I'm thinking like I'm going to do the hunter gathering spring. So it tells like you have to have more sleep and more rest and kind of things. So now I'm thinking like whether it's the best choice for me or not. In this case, you know,
Okay,
like
I'm a little confused. You said you were going to do the hunter or the gatherer spring, but those are two very
no,
different things. Which one?
hunter spring,
Okay.
which is increasing more meat and
Yeah,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's just address something important here. Many of you, as you go into spring for the first time or for the first time in a long time, you will find that your sleep patterns get disrupted. And there's a few things that can trigger this. One of them is you have more energy and your body doesn't need as much sleep, or you didn't really do enough physical exertion in the day and you're mentally tired, but your body isn't tired. And that's a bit of a drag. So one of the things I want to suggest is that if you're struggling a little bit with sleep, you have to remember there are two types of tired: mentally tired and physically tired. And if you want to sleep really well, you need both of those things. You need both of those things. Now, also, this is a very important thing to know. It is a normal human tendency to wake up at some time between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Totally normal to do that. In fact, when I've been out staying with the Hadza Bush people, I can tell you right now, around about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, a bunch of them wake up. You can hear them talking around the camp just softly. Then they put some more wood on the fire, and then they go back to bed. And I imagine that that's been a human cycle for a very long time. Now, the mistake we make is that we wake up at that point and we look at our phones or we turn on the lights, right? And then when we do that, we tell our body it's time to wake up. What you really should do at that time of night is wake up and then meditate and go back to sleep, or wake up and then take out your journal with very soft light or red light glasses or something like that. And then write in the journal the things that your mind is busy about so that you can relax and go back to sleep. But the mistake people are making is they're getting up at 3, they're going, oh. And by the way, here's a good example. How many of you have had this experience? You wake up at 3 and you look at the clock and you go, oh my God, it's only 3. And you're like, oh, I can't believe I've woken up. Has anybody done that? Okay, I'm going to teach you a new version. This is a new version. You wake up, you look at the clock and you see that it's 3 and you're like, yes, I get 3 more hours of this. Like, you celebrate that you woke up. Like, you know, imagine if you woke up at 7 and you needed to get going and you felt tired like that. That would suck. Now you got 3 more hours to sleep. And I'll tell you something, no kidding, your reaction in that moment will affect how easy you fall back to sleep again. If you react disappointed, oh man, I can't believe it, I have to get, then you won't sleep. If you go, oh, it's only 3? That's amazing. And then you go to sleep and do a gratitude meditation and you'll drift back off to sleep and it'll be wonderful.
Okay. So in the hunter's spring, so we are removing the alkalies also? Like,
yep.
Are we? Oh, okay. So removing all the like plant-based.
Meat, fish, eggs, poultry. Maybe a little butter, maybe a little seasoning here or there, but that's it.
That's okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Eric. Then thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Frazina.
Hey everyone. Hi, how are
Hello,
you, Eric?
hello.
Hello.
I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm very good. I just have to tell you that I have already released 4 kilograms.
Nice.
Yes, and that's a big win, and I feel so much more energized than before. Oh, I just could cry because of the happiness. So yeah, the thing that happened this time with YFit, it was like my body started to realize that, okay, I have been here, I have this, and it just started to remember how I felt 5 years ago or many years ago when I had YFit for the first time. And now I choose the Hunter Spring because I want to have good results so fast as possible. And wow, it was amazing to feel already that my body remembered this state before, and my mood immediately changed to be much more happier. But I have to tell you that I slept 1 hour less because of the change to summertime. We had to change it this weekend. So I slept, but I just don't feel the change. I just don't feel that I slept 1 hour less. So it's kind of amazing. But I have a question about water. Because you know, I live in Norway, but I'm actually from Hungary, and the water quality from the tap is it's really on another level. We have water from well in Norway here in our house, but when I travel to visit my family in Hungary, so then I buy the bottled water because I just kind of hate the taste of the tap water in a block flat. You know, my mom lives on the 13th level in a block flat, and the water is just tastes like chlorine and whatever. So what should I choose? What is the best way to hydrate myself? Is it still the tap water?
Okay, I don't drink tap water anywhere. I just don't. And by the way, I've spent a huge amount of time in Norway, and all my Norwegian friends are telling me how good their tap water is. I still don't drink it. And then I go to Estonia, and they're so proud of their tap water, and I won't drink that either. And ultimately, there's a million reasons for it, but governments treat water with things like fluoride and chlorine and a variety of other things to try to keep it clean. They have to. I mean, what are they going to do? There's this huge, but then equally, that water has to pass through a variety of plumbing and pipes, and I mean, I'm just thinking it's all not all that clean. Now, I don't mind the natural unclean. Like, I'll drink water out of a spring in the ground without filtering it, no problem at all. But do I really want to drink water out of a municipal water supply system through a bunch of pipes after it's been treated and gone through? No, I'm not really interested. So that said, let's follow one of the core WildFit principles, and that is your health is far more dependent upon you getting your needs met than eliminating all the bad stuff. So every now and again, I was just in Estonia last week, and we ran out of water. I had a bunch of bottled water in the house, and we ran out. I woke up in the night, and I was thirsty. And I went to the tap and drank the damn water. Like, I'm not worried about the one time I do it. I'm worried about the daily doing it, right? Like, and so I drank the water. And so that's my approach, is tap water is, I generally want to avoid it. Now, that said, though, I can tell you, I mean, this is an extreme example, but if I was in Mexico, I wouldn't have drunk the tap water, no matter what, because there we know the tap water is, same in Delhi. You just wouldn't do that. So you have to make that decision based on how bad you think the tap water is. And from what it sounds like, the tap water in Hungary is, don't drink that. I wouldn't want to, if it's bad enough that it tastes bad, that's a pretty good clue. To me, that's a pretty good clue. I don't think that's a great idea. I have to admit that in Estonia, in our old apartment, the water there didn't taste all that bad. Funny enough, in the apartment we were just now in, it didn't taste good at all. I drank it that one time. I was done. My view is you want mineral water, ideally from glass bottles whenever you can. That's the ideal version of it. And then if you have to have tap water from time to time, you have to judge that based on where you are. Some places it should be a never. Other places, maybe occasionally isn't so bad.
And our water isn't from the official water thing, it comes from a well. Is it called well? I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. So well water is generally fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's not been contaminated and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that sounds great.
And it's not long ago that I learned that Norway cleans the water by radiate it. They use some kind of radiation to clean it. And I'm like, holy cow.
We have to be a little careful. Be a little careful. I don't know how that works in Norway, but I just want to point out to you that one of the things that cleans our air, all the air you're breathing is cleaned by radiation, and all of the water that you drink naturally is cleaned by radiation, the radiation of the sun. So like we want to be a little bit careful about the buzzwords that either make us think something's good or make us think something's really bad. I don't know about Norway, I don't know what they're using to, but what I would suggest is they're probably not using radioactive materials to clean the water, right? They're probably
I
using
don't
some
really
sort
know.
of,
I just need to.
infrared radiation or something. So, but generally speaking, yeah, priority number one is to stay well hydrated. And if that means drinking tap water from time to time and the area you're in is not so bad, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Two quick questions out of the chat while you queue up whoever's next. The one is somebody asked, can you eat eggs? I've seen a few questions in the chat. In WildFit, we do not use very often words like can, can't, approved, allowed. We don't do that. This is a freedom brand. We are about your freedom, your liberty to choose for yourself. The entire process that we're going through is about helping you to be free to eat the way you want to eat. And that's that. So there's no allowed, there's no can. So somebody says, can I eat eggs? You can eat whatever you want. Now, in order to stay in Hunter Spring, we would recommend that eggs are absolutely part of Hunter Spring. We would recommend that Skittles are not, but that doesn't mean you can't have them. At the end of the day, this is about freedom and it's about your making your own decision. Are you guys all clear on that distinction? All right, cool. Now, the next thing somebody asked about, but Eric, butter, but you hate dairy products. I know. I don't have a lot of hypocrisies in my life, but that's one of them. And I'm just going to tell it to you this way. I think dairy products are one of the worst things to have happened to human beings. I don't care which genetic A1 cow milk, blah, blah. No, I don't believe that humans are supposed to be drinking the mammary secretions of another mammal, particularly when that mammal is basically like an alien with 4 stomachs. Like it's just not my thing. That said, butter, and particularly ghee as an even better choice, has had all the lactose cooked out of it, and it's basically no longer a dairy product in the way that yogurt or milk or cheese is, something along those lines. So, what I would prefer, what I will often have in the house is tallow, beef tallow. I would prefer to have that, but given that's not always possible, then butter or ghee are exceptions to the no dairy concept. So thank you for asking about that. All right, who's next?
We're going to go to Shell.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my call. I'm loving the upgrades from WildFit 2.0. Wonderful news stories and different ways of seeing things. I have a couple of things right now. I'm going to be doing Hunter Spring, which I'm really looking forward to. In the WildFit that I just did August, I got rid of all my supplements, but then in the process of looking at things, I added back some magnesium and some calcium magnesium at the night for the cramping, and then zinc and what's the other, and some vitamin D. So I'm wondering whether in Hunter Spring, it's advised. It's advised to do those supplements, or I'd be better off cutting those off entirely.
All right. I'll probably say this many times over our time together, but this is the official WildFit stance on supplements. It stems from the fact that many supplements are bad quality and most supplements are sold on fear and misinformation. That's just a sad reality of the supplement industry. That's not to say supplements are bad. It's something to be aware of. So the WildFit approach to supplements works like this. First, you rectify your relationship with food and nature. You rectify your relationship with food and nature. You spend time in nature, you get your sunlight, you eat properly, you drink properly, you move your body, and you run metabolic seasons, right? That's step one. There's no point supplementing prior to that unless you have an acute or urgent problem. And here's why. People are using supplements not as supplements, but as replacements. They are all over the place. The word supplement means in addition to, not instead of. So step one, rectify your relationship with your body. Step two, now, if you have observable symptoms or measured deficiencies, then you seek a natural solution before you go to supplementation. Perfect example, you live in the UK and you have a vitamin D deficiency. Now, what are you going to do about that? You live in the UK and they don't have a sun there, as far as I'm kidding. I know you guys have a sun. It's just hiding most of the time. But the fact is they don't get enough sunlight. So then their natural solution would be to, whenever it's sunny, go out and get the sun, maybe drive a convertible if they can, have a good travel agent that gets them to Greece and Spain on a regular basis. Those are natural solutions to their vitamin D problem. Then you move to step 3. If step 2 did not solve the problem, then you move to step 3. And step 3 is seek a modern solution, which might be a red light therapy in the case of vitamin D or what have you. It might be a supplementation like taking vitamin D drops. And I will tell you guys, I just went through this. I just recently had a full battery of blood tests done just to see how things were going. And it turned out I'm in the top, 3% of health condition for people my age in the world. That was very nice and validating here. But I also found out that my iron was too high, so high that they told me I have to go and donate blood. Like I have to get some of the iron out, but that my vitamin D was low. And I'm like, me, Eric, low vitamin D? That can't be right. I live in the Caribbean. And then I started thinking about the last 6 months of my life. And I've been going through a bunch of stresses. I've been working really hard and I've not been going outside so often. And I was in Estonia, and Estonia has not much more sun than England. So therefore, going for a natural solution wasn't going to work. So what did I do? I went and got the best quality vitamin D supplements I could. And for the first time in my life, I took vitamin D supplements. So, Shell, my answer to you is this. Unless you have an acute problem at the moment, I probably would stop taking them. I would go into Hunter Spring without them. But if you found yourself having leg cramps, maybe then you would resume taking them. Or if you found yourself having leg cramps, you know, the other version is leg cramps. And I'm having this problem. But funny enough, I had the worst leg cramp I've ever had last night. It was really bad. And I know that I'm not low on magnesium at the moment. Can anybody tell me why I'm having leg cramps? I know somebody out there's got to be a hematologist, or you must have some idea. I've already given you the clue.
All that extra iron.
There it is. I had too much iron. So I've been taking magnesium supplements because of my leg cramps, and that was never the problem, right? So that's the next thing, is that when you have the symptom, what you really want to do is go out and get blood tests to make sure that you're supplementing correctly if you can't find a modern solution. So where you are right now is step 1. Write your relationship with your body and food. You're great. You're in week 6. You're on track. You're making it happen. And then if you have observable symptoms, then you're going to move to step 2. What could I do about my observable symptoms? Do I have a magnesium deficiency? Well, if you have a magnesium deficiency, let's say, it might be that you were having all these alkalizers with cruciferous vegetables and they were making it hard for you to absorb your magnesium. Now that you're in Hunter Spring, let's say, then maybe you don't need a supplement. Maybe you've already done step 2 and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or you move to step 3 and go, all right, I'm going to take some magnesium supplements. By the way, most people are shockingly low on vitamin magnesium and they should be supplementing. But I do believe it's better to actually know that for sure, because as you just heard in my case, I was taking magnesium supplements when what I really needed was to donate some iron.
Great, that's very helpful. So the other issue is, I decided to use the buffer zone and kind of ease into it because I had stocked up on all these wonderful vegetables. And then Saturday, I'm in Ontario and an extreme ice storm hit. We've had a power outage since Saturday. We don't know when it's going to come back. So I don't want to eat raw meat. So I'm wondering how best to do this. I just went and did a little bit of shopping and I found a Portuguese barbecued chicken, but I can see that the stuff on the outside of it, if I pull off the skin, I can probably deal with the meat on the inside. And I found some cooked frozen shrimp. So, and the other alternative is like some canned fish at home.
Oh, the other alternative is to go get yourself a hibachi.
Oh.
Why not, right? I mean, that's what I would do. The first thing I would do is like, well, my modern fire isn't working. I'll go get one a few centuries old. I'll go get myself a little barbecue unit. Or
you do have a Coleman propane thing from a camping.
There you go.
Which I actually suggested to my husband, but we haven't moved forward on it yet.
Well, let me just talk to you about husbands for a moment. I want to do some translation work for you. See, now a woman women often speak in what we think of as hinting or inferential language, and men are generally distinctly literal beings, and that causes some of the difficulty in communication. So when a woman wants her husband to take the garbage out, she says things like, "It's smelly in here." And he is supposed to deduce from that you want him to take the garbage out, but men are also energy conservationists. So they're like, yeah, he'll agree with you. Yeah, it is smelly in here. And that'll be the end of it. So then you might move to the next level of inference where you go, gosh, that garbage really is smelly. Would you mind taking it out? And men are very literal. They're gonna be like, yeah, I would mind taking it out. It's cold out there. You know, would you mind taking it out? No, no, no. You got to move it to the next level. The next level is, honey, it stinks. Take out the garbage now, please. And you'd be amazed how different that is for men. But if you really want to black belt this, if you want to like rock this all the way, you add 2 additional features. All right, here they are. Are you ready? Honey, the garbage is really smelly and it's heavy. Would you take it out, please? Yes, ma'am, I will. All you got to do, by the way, I know women, you guys, that's so stupid. What are you, little boys? Yes, we are little boys with longer pants. Like that, that's what we are. And then if you want to add the real black belt to it, when he's carrying the bags, you go, those look real heavy. And when he comes back in, you hail the conquering hero, and then he will take out the garbage for you for the rest of his life. And I know this sounds like an oversimplification, but it's the facts in most cases. And so you probably said, wow, we're out of power and we really need to cook this meat. I mean, we probably could use the propane thing. And he probably went, yeah, we probably could. Now what you got to do is go, honey, you're my hunter and I need my meat. And that propane thing, I really need your help. Can you take care of that tonight? Now? Yeah. Then he'll do it.
Yeah. We've had
hail the conquering hero.
We've had other priorities and the impact of not being able to cook the meat, and we kept thinking, oh, the power outage will be out in a few hours, and we're into day 3 or whatever now. So and in terms of the Portuguese chicken that I just bought, should I give that to him or just take off the skin and enjoy the meat?
Either way. I mean, generally speaking, yeah, either way is fine. I think the main issue is don't worry about that one meal, but you're right to avoid the stuff that's on the skin.
Yeah.
The next version, of course, is, yeah, go eat the meat and then get your propane thing up and have some real food.
Excellent. Thank you. That's been very, very helpful. I appreciate it. Loving the program. Thank you.
I bet you guys didn't know you were coming here for WildFit relationship advice, but every now and again, we have to drop a nugget or two. I will offer a little disclaimer. I know every now and again when I do a little rant like that, I get some voice notes or I get some emails at the help desk going, that was really stereotypical. I know. I do stereotype sometimes. It's faster. But I know that these things are not always true, but we generalize some things because sometimes they're a little bit true. And I hope you can enjoy the playfulness of it all. So, by the way, Susan said men are from Mars. The joke of it is John Gray, who wrote the Mars Venus books, is like one of my dearest friends in the world. So I'm definitely armed with a lot of his information too. All right, let's do it.
We're going to go to Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Oops.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Hi. I appreciate the marital advice. It's well received. So 2 things for gratitude. I want to reach out and thank Pamela Love. She's the best coach on the planet. I really appreciate her. And so my question is about cooking food. So vegetables, if you cook meat and don't have challenges, why, if we don't cook our vegetables, why do we have the same issues?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So if we cook meat, right,
Yeah.
to avoid, all the because things don't like to be eaten, right? So why, if I just cook my Alka-Geyser, right, for instance, would I have better?
There are a couple of differences. One of them just is generally historical. We didn't tend to cook our vegetables. We just didn't tend to do that. Like, so there's sort of a historical issue of we tended to eat them mostly uncooked. Now there are some changes there. Like for those people who are on the gatherer's track, if you're going to eat lentils, you better soak or cook those babies because they've got a bunch of toxins in them that are not good for you, and you gotta get them out. But generally speaking, vegetables, you just damage them a lot when you cook them. And I would even tell you guys, like with meat, and like I just had a steak right before this call. I got to tell you, it was more red than anything else. I'm not eating it raw, but I am not overcooking that baby. I want those nutrients in the best form that I can. When I've been with the Hadza, they throw the meat on. When they take the organ meats, they basically just sear them on each side and then eat them. They don't overcook them. So, you know, anytime you cook something, you're walking a careful line. Am I making it slightly more digestible, or am I crossing the line into I'm destroying the nutritional availability here? So in the case of
see. Okay.
you need to soak or cook them because the toxins are bad. But if you overdo it, that's not good either. And I would say the same is true with meat. Now, one of the problems we have with meat is that because most of us don't have super great fresh meat sources, like we all know if you're going to go have sushi, that sushi has to be out of the water like 2 days ago, or yesterday even. It has to be super fresh, right? Well, the same would apply with, say, beef. I remember, guys, I mean, raw beef. Who would eat raw beef? That's insane, raw beef. That's a crazy idea. Only I'm sitting in a Russian restaurant in Estonia with my partner, and she's like, I'm getting this beef carpaccio, and I'm like, what, beef carpaccio? Yeah. What, isn't that just beef? Like, isn't that just raw beef? He goes, yeah, it's raw beef. I'm like, that's disgusting. I will never do that. That's gross that you're doing that. And she started eating it, and it looked like she was enjoying it a lot. So and by the way, stolen food always tastes better than food that you were supposed to eat.
Always.
So I made her look over there, and I snuck away some of her. And the next thing you know, I'd eaten half of her beef carpaccio, and now it's something I regularly order. So I do prefer to undercook things rather than overcook them. But in the case of the more delicate vegetables, I mean, consider what would happen to lettuce if you cooked it. It would be done.
Right.
Now, something like broccoli, at the end of the day, I mean, you can eat raw broccoli, but that's a hell of a thing. Whereas if you lightly steam it, it makes it a little more chewable and what have you. But if you cook it like British style, like when I moved to England, I found out that the way they cook broccoli is to boil it so sufficiently that you take it out. And if you drop it from too high at an altitude, like say a foot, and it lands on the plate, it turns into a puddle. That's how much they overcook it. I'm thinking at that point, it's been destroyed. So you kind of want to walk that balance with whatever you're eating. Well done, Maria. It really is good. But remember, it's got to be the right quality. More important than ever, it's got to be the right quality. Same whether you're talking fish or meat or whatever. All right, who's up?
We have David.
Shirley. I don't know if you got that from me or you made that one up on your own, but that's what I often say. I don't like to cook my broccoli. I like to frighten it and demand information from it and then eat it. So well said, Shirley. Go ahead, David.
Yes. Hi, Eric. Good evening. Eric, our coach suggested I ask you a question. I won't name her, Michelle. But anyways, she suggested I ask you a bit about cholesterol and also uric acid, gout. So that was why I was hesitant going on to the Hunter's Spring because I've got gout, and I was wondering about all that purines and meat, whether that'll worsen it. And then the second question was about cholesterol. I'm hyperlipidemic and a total cholesterol of 7 and so on. So just with all the coconut oils and everything that we're currently using, I was just wondering, whether, just a bit basically a bit scared, if you look at the Framingham risk study and they use all the LDLs and total cholesterols and all those kinds of things, or HDL. So just the effect of cholesterol and also of, all the purines and meat and things on something like gout.
All right. I guess what I want to say is that okay, there's this sort of if we think about what gout is, it is uric acid, I should say, sort of building up and then causing inflammation and pain and this sort of stuff. And so the sort of conventional idea about this is that it's like you should avoid red meat and organ meats because they're full of that. They're going to help you to elevate your uric acid. But the funny thing is that gout's like an entirely modern disease. Like it didn't exist before. And, it basically didn't exist in ancestral populations. And they were unbelievably meat heavy. I mean, think about people like the Inuit or the Maasai. I mean, the Inuit, they're basically carnivore, right? They don't even have vegetables up there. So, and why is it that they're not having gout? So what I want to suggest to you is I don't think that the meat is the problem. I believe that metabolic imbalance is the problem. Metabolic dysfunction is the problem. And the confusion created by adding in, say, like sticky blood because of excessive carbohydrate, alcohol, sugar intake. So I think that this is a case of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And by the way, we've had a number of people come in tell us that they're dealing with gout. They're concerned about gout flare-ups, and then they go through Hunter Spring, and then it's gone. It's done. It's over. So I really believe that this is a case of correlation, but not cause, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and look, one way to think of it is that the relationship between sugar, insulin production, and the development of gout is, I think, at this point becoming more and more heavily established. So the fact is that when you correct your insulin sensitivity and you correct your relationship with sugar, then I'll give you another great example. This is a great example. So my dad, who he passed away about a year ago now, but he I largely feel like he was killed by the food industry. And what I mean by that is that he found out when he was young that he had blood pressure problems, and he would and so he had to cut out salt, right? How many of you guys can remember the old you've got a blood pressure problem, so you got to cut out your salt? Do anybody remember that one? That old chestnut? Well, here's the thing though, is that it's like, it's only true for a very small percentage of the population that they have a correlative response between the salt and blood sugar, or sorry, salt and blood pressure. But here's the real kicker. It's the people that have a problem with sugar that have that problem. It's sugar first, and then salt is the tipping point, but then salt gets blamed for the problem. And so I would put to you that it's the exact same situation here, that sugar is the problem, and then it's getting blamed on the tipping point. And so I think you're gonna be fine. Now, let's talk a little bit about cholesterol. I don't care if you ever say the word cholesterol ever again, or ever think about it again, or ever get tested for it again. I don't, or if I put that in an entirely different way, I believe that you should be looking at it, and you should be doing what you can to elevate your cholesterol numbers. And you know, what they're telling us these days about cholesterol is, again, a false correlation designed to sell statins. It's designed to sell a drug, and it's been one of the most dangerous trends in medicine ever. And by the way, I mean, look, I know at this point I probably start sounding like I own a few tinfoil hats, and I think that, you know, I think the CIA killed JFK. They probably did, but you know, what I'm really trying to say is that we are living in an age where we are constantly being taught things that are not, you know, true or accurate. And so I want to weigh this out. We have a population of people who were told that cholesterol was going to kill them. And so they started doing everything they could to lower their cholesterol, the low fat movement, the no fat movement, statins, and what have you. Totally in other news, we have a tragic fall off of testosterone in men. And it's tragic. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you, I'm not going to go too far into this whole thing, but when you hear about this idea of toxic masculinity, do you know what that is? It's a man who's been emasculated and is responding to that with violence and negativity. Like, it's not, a real masculine man isn't like those things at all. But what's happening is that our whole population is being demasculated biochemically, that men are running low on testosterone. They're predicting right now that by the year 2050, the average American male will not be able to conceive without medical intervention. The extinction of the human race, except for technology. Like, this is a frightening idea. So now hold on a second. Why am I mentioning these two things? Well, David, because cholesterol is a precursor for the manufacture of hormones. You need cholesterol to make testosterone. So if you were to tell a bunch of men for, say, 3 decades that they should be terrified of the cholesterol, guess what? They're going to start underproducing testosterone. And by the way, the things that it leads to, it's horrible. If you want to know, like, I'll give you a good example. A man who's feeling low testosterone starts feeling low energy, muscle density starts to go away, their intentional drive goes off. And by the way, they stop being turned on by their wife. And the reason, and there's lots, and it becomes a feedback loop, because he's no longer masculine. And so she's no longer interested. So he's no longer, then he goes to get a haircut. And the girl is giving him a haircut. And I'm saying girl because she's 23 and pretty and different, and she's novel, and she's touching his hair, and she's complimenting him because he wants a tip. And then he starts flooding his system with testosterone, and he starts feeling young again. And they did this to us by pushing our cholesterol numbers down. I'm not justifying any bad behavior on his part or on the wife's part. I'm just talking about reality here. So I want your cholesterol numbers to be up. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, I had a full spectrum blood test done, everything. They tested everything. And the guy, he's a buddy of mine, it's his clinic. He's on the call with me and Kirsty. And he first says, he says to Kirsty, by the way, Kirsty, are you guys thinking about having a baby? And she goes, well, not really. I mean, we both have kids, you know, and she's 45. It's like, yeah, probably not. And he goes, well, you have the fertility of a 25-year-old. Like you should have another baby. Then he turns to me and he goes, and you, and I go, what? And he goes, you're my hero. And I go, why am I here? And he goes, well, in the different ranks of testosterone, we have different classifications for them. And you fall into a classification that we refer to as heroic. I'm 55 years old, and most of my friends are asking me what they can do about low T. So what you can do about low T is don't fight your cholesterol. And so I think carry on, have fun, and about four weeks from now, let's see where you end up.
Okay.
What was that?
Have a baby.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks, Eric.
We are at time. How's your time?
Oh, come on. We can do one or two more.
Okay, we're going to go to Meredith.
Let's go, Meredith.
Hey guys, I'm so glad to be here. Hi, Eric. I won't waste time with greetings, but just speaking of the having a baby thing, what you talked about absolutely happened to me. I started spotting, so now I have to go through the tests for endometrial cancer, but I know it's because of the changes, etc. I'm not worried. Also, I started to have revulsion when I look at things with sugar in them now. Like if I see a Coke, I actually get nausea. That has never happened to me before.
Is anybody else having a bit of that? You look at stuff that used to own you and it doesn't own you anymore. Isn't that nice? Oh,
not just, it's like, oh, like I literally, it's incredible. I'm very happy about this. And this is my second time through. I'm going to do Hunter Spring, and I'm starting to be able to listen to my body for the first time in my life, probably. Hear my body, hear what it wants. When I did the 2 weeks, I felt like my body was super resentful. And when I started to take out the sugar and do all of that, it was just so easeful and peaceful. And I'm really happy. And that's why last time I had difficulty with Deep Spring, it wasn't terrible. It was effective. But I'm thinking that my body's in a different place now. So I'm going to try the Hunter Spring. I also know this is all just positives, right? I also noticed immune improvement. I used to get sick regularly, and I haven't been, knock on wood, seriously sick in months since I started the program. Since we took out sugar, my only concerns. Okay, here's my question. But I think you've already answered it. With long COVID and concussion, I know that inflammation is the baseline issue. So my concern was going as hard into Hunter Spring, but I think I'm going to try it anyway. And because now I can listen to my body, I think I'm going to give it a shot. But do you have any thoughts on that?
I totally do. Listen, I want you guys to hear me really clearly about this. Irrespective of the disease, the injury, the epigenetic dysfunction, or genetic disease, no matter what of those four things you're dealing with, your body is going to deal with it better when you are moving, nourishing, hydrating, sleeping, sunning. Whatever the condition, whatever medical assistance you seek, getting those things right is going to help your body to recover better. Is everybody with me on that? Does that sound pretty solid, right? You can't argue that, really. All right. So now let's add another point to it, and that is that almost all of the food that almost everyone eats requires an immune response. Because almost all of the food that almost everyone eats is triggering some part of the immune system because it's not good for you. There's glyphosate in there, or there's artificial chemicals or colorants or preservatives or just, Neolithic things that aren't good for humans, or natural plant defense chemicals that we are being exposed to too regularly and too often without any seasonal without any seasonal fluctuation. So when you go into Hunter Spring, you walk into a season where there are no irritants of any kind and full nutrition, many times for the first time in anybody's life, and no irritants and full nutrition. So again, irrespective of the injury, the genetic disorder, the dysfunction, the disease, I believe that going into Hunter Spring is one of the most healing things that you can do. The only thing that could be as healing in a more limited way is to actually undertake a winter fast, to actually fast from time to time. And I think that's unbelievably healing, because then your body isn't even expending energy on food, and you have an incredible ability to repair and heal. And please don't ask me any more questions about fasting. We will talk about that another time.
Two final things. I know you probably don't want to recommend, but I was reading the book Good Energy, which is by a Stanford doctor. Anyway, incredible. And I'm still in the 3rd chapter, like still in the beginning, but she really talks about how monetized everything is.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. I highly recommend that. Also, I have a new partner. He's in the Dominican Republic. He is young.
Wow.
I know. And I'm going to be spending a lot more time there, probably around the Meaches area. So I wanted to ask one about water there, because I don't like the idea of the plastic bottles, but
the water here, you know, it's not like Mexico or what have you. It's you know, it's not so bad. I mean, the water in our complex, where we live, we can drink from the tap, but I won't. It's treated, and I just don't like it. So we buy the big, you know, the big water containers and put them in and then we add minerals to it, because
so do you use the plastic container?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other. When I buy water for, like, you know, to try, like, you know, out in the world, I'll always get a glass bottle whenever possible. But here they've got those giant big glass,
Crystal, yeah.
and there's no other solution here. And it's just unfortunately the way it is.
I'm seeing a question, and Eric, you can answer this, but I bought some trace minerals after talking, I think, to Michelle, and added those into water, because that was a question that came up.
Yeah, I add trace minerals, and sometimes I'll just add rock salt. I'll just grab some rock salt, drop it in there, let it dissolve into the water. You know, you're just trying to bring up the electrolyte value of the water.
And my last comment is, please don't let this make me more fertile. I'm 60 years old, and my boyfriend is younger, and he would like a baby. And I'm not there at this
Meredith,
point.
and everybody else, just tune out for a little commercial break for a minute. Don't listen to any of what I'm about to say. Meredith.
Yes.
These guys, what are they? Hang on a second. Come on up.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to come back and talk to you every
So your boyfriend is what's known here in the Dominican Republic as Sanky Panky. And that's the nickname. You should tell him that, by the way. He'll probably bust out laughing, because it's, you know, common beach language. But I will tell you that there is a very big culture here of get yourself a North American, European woman. She's going to help create your lifestyle. And the best thing in the world is to get her pregnant. So
no. I know.
Definitely be careful.
No, that's not him at all. He's like a very church family. He wants to adopt, if nothing else.
They're all very church family. Do not.
No. Like,
they all are.
I hear you. However, like, I've done a lot. Believe me, I'm very aware of the passport bro thing. And
you guys wait. 9 months from now, we're gonna have a different conversation with Meredith.
No, we're not. We're absolutely. No, I said absolutely not. Also, I'm not converting. He's a pastor. Like, he wants a pastor's wife, and I'm like, can't. I'm sorry. I adore you. Can't do it. But I will be spending a lot more time in the Dominican Republic. He does not want to move to Canada.
You're only as young as the boyfriend you feel. Meredith, super nice to see you. I can do one more, guys, and then I got to run.
Oh, this is hard because there's 2 of them.
Okay, two, but that's it. No more hand raising.
All right, Joanne.
Joanne, jump in.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. So, okay, in the interest of time, I won't do any pleasantries or anything, but I did want to touch on your comment about cholesterol, because that was also my question that David had. I'm more specifically concerned about LDL cholesterol, and I'm doing Hunter Spring. And so, you know, again, it's going to be rich in fat, rich in meats and stuff like that. Do you have recommendations about that? Or are you just saying, you know what, for the next period of time that we're doing Hunter Spring, let it go, let it rip? Because I do have high cholesterol, but it's primarily the LDL cholesterol that is my concern.
Okay. It's a little bit of a complicated conversation, but the issue is not how high or not it is. The issue is what form it's taking. And so, you know, that's a totally different test that most of them don't even really talk about. And I don't want to go too far into that right now, but what I'm going to tell you is we've had people, for example, go into gather a spring and then lose lots and lots of weight, release lots and lots of weight, and then their cholesterol numbers have gone up. Guess what? Their body's metabolizing their own internal fat and, you know, their cholesterol, but it spikes up and then it comes back down again. And the same thing happens now when people go into Hunter Spring. What happens is sometimes their cholesterol numbers go up, but it's not so much because of what they're eating, it's because of what they're releasing. And so right now, I wouldn't worry the least about that. I wouldn't worry. And what I would want you to do is go and buy a book and read it called The Big Fat Surprise. And it is just a phenomenal takedown of the low-fat industry. It was written by an investigative reporter. So she's not some health, you know, influencer trying to get clicks or whatever. She was an investigative reporter. She was approached to do this because she'd written a huge takedown on the diet industry and they liked it. So the publisher asked her to do an investigative job on the low-fat industry. And it'll blow your mind what you...
I've been reading a lot of these books too. I think the last one I read was the cholesterol myth.
Yeah, there you go.
Lies my doctor told me. So yeah.
Yeah. So I really right now wouldn't even worry about it in the least. I wanted to check something. I'm just looking for something because I was just writing about this earlier. Okay. So basically, you know, what we've been indoctrinated with is that, you know, high LDL means that you're increasing your chance of a heart attack and you can lower it with statins and everything will be fine. But that's an outdated model that was really largely propagated by the profit-seeking pharmaceutical companies and by the low and no-fat food manufacturers. They wanted everybody to be frightened about that as well. What's really important to know is that the LDL, it's protective. Like it's actually like you want it. It's good for you. And when you are like, you know, what you really want to check is, hey, how are your triglycerides? And do you have high
my HDL and my my HDL and my triglycerides are optimal, right? Even my cholesterol.
Then conversation finished. Then we're done.
But no, don't have to worry about the LDL being super high.
No. If you're really truly worried about it, okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's because I've been working with the doctor for a bit in terms of trying to diagnose what's the root cause of why I've elevated LDL.
But you have to ask yourself why you're even asking this question. You're asking this question because they spent millions of dollars shocking the American and then the rest of the world public into being terribly afraid, right? That you're only even asking the question because you know to ask the question. But again, I would put to you that if you have optimal triglycerides, you have high HDL, how are you low inflammation markers at the moment?
I have some inflammation markers. I don't.
Some.
Yeah, but
almost everybody does. And what's your insulin sensitivity like?
Insulin's fine.
Okay, and then your blood pressure?
Blood pressure is optimal.
Well, then again, the conversation's over. You're perfectly fine. Now, if you really, really, really want to, if you really, really want to, dive deeper into it, you can go get a test to see what the particle size is of your LDL, and then that actually can probably tell you something. If you have very small, dense LDL, then that potentially could have a link to heart disease. If you have large, buoyant, where they fluffy.
I did the ApoB. I think, is that what you're talking about? The sizes.
Yeah.
So that's okay. My only fear is just whether or not that can change over time by introducing too much fat. But you're basically saying
no. And listen, everybody listen to what just happened on this call. It's so important. What's going on is I'm saying to her, look, if these markers are okay, you're okay. All the markers are okay. Okay. And then also if it's the light and if it's the big and fluffy one, you're okay. Then you're okay. So 9 out of 10 things are okay, which means that the high number is perfectly okay, but we've all been given brain damage about that number being high, and so she wants that number to come down. No, you want that number because it's going to help you to make estrogen. It's going to help you to make the other hormones that your body wants to have. You're all good.
Oh my God, thank you. Because I've literally been wondering. I've been spending a ton of money on this, going what do I do to control my LDL? What can I do to bring this back down to normal? So it's
stop it.
Thank
Listen,
you, Eric.
if you're a pharmaceutical company, I want you guys to play this out with me. You're a pharmaceutical company. You find that there is a correlation. That's not a causal relationship, a correlation between, high LDL cholesterol and heart disease. And so then you develop a drug, and that drug can help lower that number. Now, that number never needed to be lowered, but what the hell, we can do it. And we frightened people with this correlation. But now the problem is a lot of the men that are on this drug are, they're having a hard time, performing, if you get what I'm saying. So now what we can do is we can now sell them these little blue pills that will help them with that problem. And the next thing you know, that we got this guy spending like $500 a month on something that never happened in the first place.
So my second question is this. So I'm going into Hunter Spring for the first time. Obviously, I'm a little trepidatious because it's a bit of an elimination diet for me. How, maybe you have some words of wisdom to share. Like, do you ever get to a point where you're like, okay, I cannot eat another piece of meat? Okay, because I currently I spent all day preparing yesterday. I have chicken, I have beef, I have lamb, I have actually 2 kinds of beef. I'm all souped up, but I am seriously nervous about getting to midweek going like, I don't think I can have another bite of meat. What do you do?
Joanna, I'm going to say it like this. We are spoiled by choice at the moment.
Yeah.
And I want to put to you, I want you to imagine that I am a hunter in your tribe. And I come back, I've risked my life, me and Vladimir and Andy here have risked our lives to get you some mammoth meat. And we come back to camp and you're like, you guys, I'm kind of done with meat. Can you imagine that happening? Like under any circumstance? No, the only reason that you can be tired of it is that there's an alternative. Or that you're genuinely satiated, because that's the other version, is that you just might be genuinely satiated. Because listen, guys, one of the easiest ways to mimic a GLP-1 agonist is to eat good quality meat, because your body produces those GLP-1 peptides when you do that. So it's possible, Joanne, that you could have this situation where you've like topped up and your body's like, I'm not hungry. But if you find yourself going, I'm not hungry for meat, but I'd sure like that over there, that's emotional. That's not real. So get over it. All right, I got to move on. Who's next? Nice to see you.
All right, Vladimir, let's end us off. Oh, you're still muted.
There you go.
Okay, now can you hear me? Okay, quick question. Should we be concerned at all about the amount of food that we take in Hunter Spring? How do you do? Is there a limit for what you eat? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, there is a limit. And this is a beautiful thing about Hunter Spring. There is a limit, and your body will tell you when you've reached it. Your body will not do that when you're eating carbs. Has anybody noticed when you're eating carbs, it seems like the only thing that can finally properly stop you is your stomach is sore? Has anybody ever had that one? Like you're like, my stomach actually hurts. When you're on Hunter Spring, you cannot eat to the point of pain in your stomach. It's very difficult, because what happens is no matter how yummy the Wagyu steak you're having is, your body starts producing GLP-1 peptides and says, I'm full. And so you just get to, I don't want another bite. So I am not worried in the least that anyone will overeat in Hunter Spring. If you can, it's a hell of an achievement. All right, guys, this has been so much fun. I'm so very excited for you guys. Going back to our escaping from the POW camp metaphor, we tunneled down for 2 weeks. We started tunneling across, and this week we've started lifting the altitude of the tunnel a little. We're starting to head up. We think we're getting close to the camp gates. How many of you guys are already starting to feel a little free of the camp? Anybody starting to feel a bit free? Yeah, it's amazing, right? And by the way, is this fair to say? If we had told you you would feel like this before you bought, you wouldn't have believed us. Is that a fair thing to say, do you think? I know, and so here you are. So now the tunnel starts lifting up. Some of you will see light and smell fresh air very quickly. Some of you already have. Some of you, you might feel it a little later. And remember, you might have a bit of a cold or a bit of a flu or a bit of a rash. So here's what's very important for you to remember. If you are winning, and it's working, please do not shy away from sharing how phenomenally you're doing. Share your weight numbers, share your blood sugar numbers, share your craving realities, because you are the light at the end of the tunnel for somebody else who's still a little deeper in the tunnel. And you might think that by sharing that, you're going to make them feel bad, and you might. But what you're also doing is showing them hope. on the other side. You're showing them what is out there. Are you guys with me on this? All right. You guys are fantastic. Congratulations. You're now in what I think is the most exciting phase of this ever. And you're gonna see you've already heard people talking about benefits. You've already heard people talking about improvements, but the acceleration rate of improvements is about to step up. And I'm super, super excited about that. So looking forward to our next call together. And remember, guys, you've got the community. Celebrate in there, but also remember, there's always a community there to help you if you need it. And of course, there's the WILD Fit coaches. So get help when necessary.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Great call.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Class, appreciate you.
Bye.
Too.